moving on to the second fight. We're going to see who Pedro is going to take on in the finals for that lightweight bracket here coming up.
Second fight of our
Cox taking on Tobias Wilson.
Semifinals here.
Two Columbus boys going to come in here and mix it up for the crowd.
Like you mentioned it right before that fight, that crowd is getting more and more pumped as the night goes on. I don't know if that's the alcohol blowing through their veins.
A little bit of both, but I also think that too, they're towards right before our first intermission, huge fight between Fields and who was Fields' opponent in the first round?
It was Tank Fields versus Joseph Foreman.
Yeah, what a way to end the first
absolutely, that was an action-packed fight.
And the crowd's been lit ever since. The ladies came in and brought it. Now the lightweight fighters are coming in here and bringing it.
So we got Tobias Wilson coming out now for his second fight of the night. This is his second event, and we mentioned in his first fight the experience that he showed, the footwork that he showed, the discipline that he showed.
Yeah, I think he's going to come in, try to do more of the same. Cell phone in his pocket.
Cell phone out of his pocket. I love slugfest, huh? I love tough man competitions. You just don't know what you're going to see.
So he's going to be taking on Sharquez Cox, Mr. Taliban.
I'll tell you something I noticed about Tobias. You know, he's very lean around the midsection and well-built kid. But if you look at his legs, he's got really solid legs.
Pretty good.
You know, and that equates to explosion and power, movement, basically everything that you need to be very successful in boxing or combat sports in general.
Yeah, that good base. Everything comes from the ground up. So having a good, solid leg system, good base really helps when you sit down on those punches. So we're going to see what Mr. Wilson can do against Sharquez Cox.
Sharquez Cox, Mr. Taliban.
From Hood Connected Gym, been training his whole life, fighting and training his whole life.
He wants to win this money. Guys, give the size nod here to Tobias, coming in 150 pounds. Mr. Taliban weighing in 140 pounds.
First
round. Get this party started. Yeah. First round here. This is going to be about to get
underway. Both fighters coming out orthodox. Wilson looked to touch gloves.
Sharquez said, no, we don't want that. Kind of swats at him. Parries his touch of gloves.
Good overhand right there.
Yeah, they're ready.
By Cox.
Fast
hands by both these guys. Cox
Wilson gives him a nod. Now they're standing in as Cox switches to southpaw.
Fast hands by Cox. Wilson's got to get off the ring. He's got to get off the ropes. He's got to get out the corner.
He ties up there, and that's going to give him a chance to get that separation, maybe work that longer, that jab.
He's got to take the center of the ring.
And he's really plodding that jab out there. He tells you kind of what his strategy is for this this first round is to kind of work long, right?
Yeah, Wilson's good movement, good footwork.
Good.
Lands a good jab, but Cox follows up with a good combo.
Cox answers with some heavy shots of his own.
You know, if you can keep Wilson back, kind of backpedaling or on his heels, he's going to have success in this fight. You know, if you stand there and you allow Wilson to just jab off and throw those good long straight shots, it's going to be a long night for you. But Cox was able to kind of keep Wilson moving backwards the whole first round.
We've seen that a couple of times tonight where fighters were able to fight long and kind of freeze their opponent. And Sharquez Cox said he's not having any of that as he comes forward and really applies the power, you know, and gets in there in tight, that dirty box and that clinch game.
That's what makes this rule set interesting with the 1 minute rounds is Cox is able to kind of come forward and fight in that type of style. You wonder like what the difference in a game plan would be compared to a 3 minute round versus a 1 minute round. Cox is able to kind of implement a higher pace game plan where he can kind of walk forward and land shots, keep Wilson on his heels.
Right, that's
keep a high
just
pace.
Part of the rule set. You're absolutely right. You know, definitely change the format there. Probably be cautious as we start this second round with a touch of gloves.
Both fighters coming out orthodox again. Wilson looking to establish that jab.
Yeah, Wilson really has a good jab. Just Cox has been able to shut it down in the first round. We'll see if he's able to do some of the same here in the second round.
Cox kind of he's got a bad habit of opening up wide before he throws his shots. Like, he don't just
his head up.
Yeah, he kind of telegraphs his shots a little bit. But he's still having some success here. Ate a jab there.
I think Tobias, you could definitely tell, is maybe the more experienced fighter, but Cox is just a gritty
Cox
guy.
is gritty. I think Cox fights better from the orthodox. For some reason, he came out in the second round, swapped to southpaw pretty early.
He's back, but orthodox. He kind of just switches. He switches back and forth, maybe with his punches.
Kind of staying in Wilson's face. Staying in Wilson's face and kind of frustrating. He's trying to touch gloves again.
Yeah, Wilson's got to quit touching gloves. He's got to start connecting with that one.
Can't be too nice in a fight. You can't be nice in a fight. You just got to fight. So
not when you're fighting for $1,500.
Not
and that Possum Town throwdown belt.
You could be fighting for $2 and you got to fight hard. You can't fight nice.
Well, that's a definition. That's a difference in fighters and competitors.
So looking at round 1 and 2. Yeah, he looks low-winded. Just looking at round 1 and 2, Cox has showed a pretty good skill set. That pressure that he's been putting on Wilson, I think you could easily put him up 2 rounds.
I think if Tobias does not put his foot on the gas and really impose his will here in the 3rd round, he's going to look back at this video and be disappointed. I really think he's the more experienced fighter. He looks like he has the better footwork. He's really got to put it together in this 3rd round, maybe get a stoppage here.
I really think he's trying to be too nice.
He's also listed as the larger fighter.
Another touch of gloves here as round 3 gets underway.
Cox is once again kind of bringing that chin really high.
This fight's too close for Wilson to be trying to fight at range. He's got to really just put his foot on the gas, try to put the pressure on Cox.
Wilson's not doing bad with that 1-2 because he sees that jaw up high, but he's just not getting through. He's got to throw it a little bit more.
Tough one to judge. Tough one to judge so far. As we move through the middle half of the 3rd round, very tough one to judge.
Yeah, Wilson just he puts him down.
The right hand there, I think, landed. And
ref's going to issue the 8 count.
Wilson maybe just a little fatigued. Wilson again trying to touch gloves with Cox. He's got to get after it here. He's got to understand he's down.
Yeah, it's all fun and games, but sometimes you can't. Like
sometimes
you can't be nice.
Yeah, and again, sometimes when you watch fights and you listen to commentary, sometimes we could be kind of critical of fighters, but and it's much easier said than done. Me sitting here rather than in that ring, but you got to understand you got to have a competitive nature and a competitive drive to want to be successful in fighting. You can't just go in there and touch gloves every time you land a shot on someone.
It's a gentleman's sport, but also you
only got 1 minute rounds. You don't have time to touch gloves.
And that's where a lot of people struggle with this rule set. And we mentioned earlier that Tobias, looking like maybe he's the more experienced, got the boxing experience, kind of the boxing background. Maybe he let that fight get away from him, I believe.
I think so too. I think Cox is probably going to move on to take on Pedro in the finals of the lightweight bracket. So you're going to have one of the heavier fighters possibly taking on the lighter fighter, the lightest fighter in this bracket. But Charquez coming in at 140 pounds, taking on the tough Pedro, Mr. El Toro, who just had an awesome knockout.
Fantastic knockout.
In the 2nd round, the fight
punching his ticket to the finals and also getting those 5 crisp $100 bills added to his bonus for the night. We got a split decision, maybe an upset. They give Cox a nod.
I think Cox did enough to win it. Again,
much
credit to Wilson for going out there and putting it all out there, but I just think just a little bit more grit, he could have edged that one out over Cox. I think, like you said, he let it get away from him.